Okay. Mic check 1 2 1 2. I am the Y2K collector and I am back. I do have a number of pickups that I want to go through with you. I did take advantage of GameStop's 50% off clearance sale, so I've got a lot of great pickups that I got out of that deal. And then also I had a pre-order come in. I made some thrift store pickups, and then I also had some retro pickups. So I want to go through all of those with you today. But I've also got a bonus story because GameStop sold me a fake video game. Yes, GameStop sold me a counterfeit video game, and I'm going to share that with you towards the end of this video. It's getting really scarce out there. It's getting hard to find good stuff. It seems like all the good stuff is very expensive, and what you're running into when you go to a lot of thrift stores and a lot of stuff like that is really just a lot of common stuff. And then even when you go to like a yard sale, they're trying to sell stuff for top dollar. So not going to do too much jabbering. Going to go through some of these games pretty quickly here and then talk about what's happening at GameStop. So I'm going to start off with this pre-order that came in. First up is a pre-order that I got here. This is Valis for the Nintendo Switch, and it won't get in focus here, so here we go. Valis on the Nintendo Switch, pretty cool game. I think it has Valis 1 through 3 on here, so this is a great way to play the Valis games without breaking the bank, and I wanted to go ahead and get this when I saw it come out from Limited Run, so went ahead and picked that up there, Valis on the Switch. All right, and then I'm going to go through some thrift store pickups that I got here. Got some pretty sweet deals on these. First up, Uncharted 2 on PS3, complete in box. All of these are complete in box in great condition. I have Uncharted 3 and Uncharted. Didn't have Uncharted 2, so added that. Next up, we've got Assassin's Creed Syndicate on the Xbox One. Pick that up there. Then also got from the thrift store. What else did we get from the thrift store? Got some PS2 games from the thrift store. Gonna go through those. So I picked up a copy of Rocky on the PlayStation 2. Pretty cool. Don't have this one in the collection, so saw that, wanted to add that there. I've had these two games in my collection before and sold them. I may keep them this time. Picked up a copy of Kessen on the PS2, but I think I'm probably gonna wind up selling this one. And then also picked up a copy of Kessen 2 on the PlayStation 2. So two really cool hack and slash style games on the PlayStation 2. I'm all about that hacking and slashing. All right, so now I'm going to go through some of the retro pickups that I made before I go into my GameStop pickups, because I did get my hands on some retro games. Now, I did sell a few games out of my collection, some of the lower end stuff, to be able to add some of these, but these are games that really appeal to the nostalgia and games that I played growing up when I had these systems. So gonna start off with a little Super Nintendo. Yes, I hardly ever talk about Super Nintendo on this channel, but I did pick up some Super Nintendo games, and first up is Axlay. Axlay is an amazing shooter on the Super Nintendo. I really look to Sega for my shoot 'em up action, but Super Nintendo did have a few amazing shoot 'em up games, and Axlay is definitely one of them. So added that to my collection. And even this label, I love Axlay. Everything about it, the colors, I mean, just, the gameplay, the vantage points when you play this. This is a classic Konami shoot 'em up on the SNES. I don't even collect for the SNES like that, but I knew I had to get this one. Sorry about that, but I knew I had to get this one, so went ahead and got Axlay. All right, next up, this is one that I needed to add back. I've had this before, sold it or traded it, finally got it back. That is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. So this is a classic. I do have Hyperstone Heist, but this is the ultimate way to play Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Basically the game that is Turtles in Time or Hyperstone Heist, whichever one you have. But this is the best way to play it, in my opinion. Added that back. And then another beat 'em up that I had back in the day that I wanted to get back, and I saw it, and that is The Death and Return of Superman. Now, I actually had this comic book, The Death and Return of Superman, when he was fighting Doomsday, and Doomsday gave him a run for his money, and I think they both died in that comic. But really cool game here, really cool Superman beat 'em up, so definitely wanted to add that. And in this Superman beat 'em up, you actually play as more than just regular Superman. You play as Superboy, Man of Steel, and a few others, so Pretty cool stuff there. All right, and now just keeping it going with the retro stuff. So went ahead and got a few Sega Genesis retro games as well. I've been heavy into the Sega Genesis, and I got some really cool deals on some of these. So I'll start it off here. Got a copy of Shadow Dancer on the, let me get that in focus there. So Shadow Dancer on the Sega Genesis. This is a really cool shinobi style game where you kind of get like this dog who's helping you out, and you can send your dog to attack folks, and you've got your little ninja stars and your sword and stuff. So this is a cool one, like a side-scrolling action platformer on the Genesis. And then we've got like a top-down run-and-gun shooter here with Mercs. This is a classic shoot-'em-up game. I believe this was in the arcades as well. Played a little bit of this as soon as I got it, and this is a fun one. This will get you hooked real quick. So Mercs on the Sega Genesis was one that we added there. This one, purely nostalgia, and I really love the art on this game. I think just the colors and the way they did the artwork on this game is amazing. And that's Pocahontas on the Sega Genesis. This game isn't talked about enough, but and I know there's a lot of Disney games out there, but games like Pocahontas, Cold Shadow, there are a few Disney games that really knocked it out of the park, and I think Pocahontas is one. This is more of like a puzzle platforming type of game, not a lot of action, more puzzle solving, but this is still a very fun one on the Sega Genesis. I usually don't play games like this, but I can't deny the graphics and the art in this one, so added Pocahontas there. Really good pickup. I ran into a super clean copy of Sonic and Knuckles. Everything in there, complete in box, all the manuals, all the good stuff. Let me get in focus. But everything is in here in this Sonic and Knuckles complete in box copy here, and this just kind of rounds out my complete in box Sonic collection. I think for the Genesis I've got 1, 2, 3. Now I've got Sonic and Knuckles. I don't really think I'm going to do the Spinball and some of those other ones, but these are the main ones that I wanted, and just tossed it right into this plastic protector here just to try to preserve that box, because these boxes are so fragile and finicky. But added that one there. And then this is probably one of my proudest retro pickups, and this is one that I really wanted because I grew up going to an arcade store that had this game, and I hadn't played it in forever, and I found it online on auction, and that is Batman Forever, the arcade edition. And this, I believe this game only came out on PlayStation 1 and Sega Saturn. This is a very, very rare one. This is extremely expensive on the PlayStation 1. I think it costs double on the PlayStation 1 what it costs on the Sega Saturn. But the Sega Saturn is always, in my opinion, the best way to play those arcade style games, whether they be Batman Forever or like any of the X-Men versus Street Fighter games. I just love playing those on the Saturn more than PlayStation. But this is a really fun game, really interesting. You know, Batman gets power-ups, and you know, it's just really cool. It's really cool. It's a different kind of beat 'em up. The speed of the game and the way they kind of walk across the screen, it takes some getting used to, but still a very fun one. So would recommend this one, but glad I was able to add this to my small but mighty Sega Saturn collection. All right, so now we're gonna get into some of these GameStop pickups that we got on clearance, and I'll talk about them. Then I'll also talk about how unfortunately GameStop tried to sell me some fake merch, and that is not cool, so we'll dive into it real quick. But before we go into that, let's talk about some of these 50% off deals we got here. So first up, we've got Foreclosed on the Xbox One and the Xbox Series X, so pretty cool. I love the art style in this one, kind of like a first-person shooter style, I think, or maybe a third-person shooter. Haven't played much of that one yet at all, but I did like the art style. Next up, Judgment. If you've played any of the Yakuza games, this is pretty much that. Just a better, I would say better version. A lot more moves. The fighting mechanics are pretty cool in this one, so definitely check out Judgment. I have that on PlayStation 4 as well. They had this one 50% off, Tales of Iron. I'm always down for a good side-scrolling hack-and-slash 2D game. The art style on this one is a little bit different, but I think the story is pretty cool, and this is a pretty fun one. So got Tales of Iron. This one is being released by Limited Run, I think on the Switch and PS4, but you can get it on the Xbox One now, and that's Demon Turf Really cool 3D platformer, very colorful, very bright. I'm all about that color, all about that brightness, and this is a pretty cool one to get on the Xbox One. Again, I do think Limited Run is releasing this on the Switch and PS4, but you can get it on the Xbox One now. So Demon Turf. Next one up that we got here, Street Fighter V, the arcade edition. I didn't play that much of this version of Street Fighter. Never really got too much into it, but on clearance, couldn't really deny it or pass it up, so went ahead and added that one to the collection. And then I do have this one already, but I don't have it on PS4, and that's Streets of Rage 4. The copy that I have on this, or copies, because I had the original Streets of Rage 4, the yellow cover, never opened that. Then I got the anniversary edition, which is this one. Got the big box one as well by Limited Run, but I didn't have any of them open, so I was actually able to play this one because this one was open. Pretty cool deal there. Although I did download Streets of Rage 4, the digital edition, so I had played it a little bit. Alright, next up, Skull on the PS4. This is a very fun 2D side-scrolling game. Skull is a very fun game, definitely recommend it. Very fun 2D side-scroller. You can pretty much switch like your head, and every head that you switch to gives you different powers and moves, and it's a pretty cool one. I would check this one out. Skull, don't sleep on that. That's a great one. All right, and then we got two others. These weren't on clearance, but these were GameStop pickups that I was definitely excited to get. First up is a unique one, and that's Fist forged in, what is it? Fist forged in Shadow Torch. So this is pretty much a side-scrolling, like 2.5D Metroidvania. Think Metroid Dread with a bunny and a mechanical arm, and like more combos and stuff. Very, very cool looking game. Have not played it yet, but this seems like everything I'm about in an action platforming game. So Fist is a really cool one. Definitely recommend you check it out. I can't wait to dive into that one. And then this one isn't as much action platforming, but this one falls more in the lines of like a more like a Yakuza style probably, and that is Sifu. On the PlayStation 4. Got the Vengeance edition. This is a very, very cool game, and for some reason I never see it in stock in GameStop, but this is a very cool game, very fun one. Had to order it online. Just the fighting mechanics in this game look really unique and really cool, and it's not repetitive. Like, you're almost kind of reacting to how you're being attacked, and I just thought that the gameplay on this one was undeniable. Wanted to go ahead and add that in there. So Sifu Vengeance Edition. And that does it for the pickups. Psych, just joking. Got a few more pickups. But before we dive into these last few pickups, gonna just kind of shift over to the GameStop since we're on GameStop. And yeah, so I happened to go down to GameStop and I was looking to take advantage of their 50% off deal. And when I looked into the glass case, I saw that they had a very good looking copy of Kirby's Dream Land 3 for the Super Nintendo. Had it for $90, and I was pretty blown away because online, if you look online, it looks like that game right now is going for about $160, $150, $160. So I said, you know what? The label looks a little funky, but I'm gonna give it a try. It's GameStop. There's no way GameStop would sell me a fake game, right? Wrong. As soon as I got home, one of the first things that I did was I pulled out the Kirby's Dream Land cartridge, ran to my Super Nintendo, popped it in, and lo and behold, when I turned it on, it actually wound up being NBA Live or some other garbage. So it looks like whoever sold this game to GameStop sold them a phantom copy of Kirby's Dream Land, which actually turned out to be NBA Live. Now, I'm not sure how much GameStop paid that person, but I'm sure they got a pretty sweet deal. Of course, I brought the fake Kirby's Dream Land back to GameStop and they did refund me, but I was a little disappointed that GameStop wouldn't do a little bit more due diligence when accepting or buying certain games. It's a little dangerous, and it makes me want to check almost any cartridge-based game that I've ever bought from GameStop, because it tells me that their ability to kind of do due diligence on that is pretty lacking. So if you've bought some cartridge-based games off of GameStop.com, double check them, open them up, look at the motherboard, make sure that they're genuine and that they're original, so that you don't get got. All right, doing a little bit too much jabbering and blabbering. Gonna end now on these three pickups, and these are going back to more retro style pickups. and I'm stoked. And you're seeing 3 of them right here on the table, and that's these Sega Genesis loose carts, right? So I'm going to start off here with Comic Zone. Now, Comic Zone was one of the first Sega Genesis games I played back in the day. This is a beat 'em up that is very fun, interesting, funny. The amount of detail put into the artwork on this game, and just the background and everything. This is a very fun one, so would definitely recommend Comic Zone. You just got to play it for yourself. Next one up here is Gargoyles. Now, I grew up watching Gargoyles as a kid in the afternoon after school, and Gargoyles was just the coolest thing at the time. And I don't think they came out with a Gargoyles game for any other system. I don't think there's one on the Super Nintendo, but the colors in this game, the art in this Gargoyles game is really pretty. This is a really pretty game. The gameplay is okay. It could have been better, but I just feel like, just the, the fighting, the mechanics are not as cool. I do like the fact that you can, crawl up buildings, and, you've got the double jump here, and you can glide, and this is a fun game. Could have been a little better, but glad that I added this one to the Sega collection. And then last but not least, when it comes to the Genesis, is Rise Star. So I did add Rise Star to the collection. Don't have a box for it. Loose cart. All of these loose cart games originally come in the cardboard Sega Genesis boxes, which most of these have been broken down and torn to shreds, so it's hard to find these complete in box at a reasonable price. But did want to add this one, Rise Star, to the collection. Very colorful, fun game. Reminds me of Sonic in a lot of ways, but a very cool one, so added Rise Star. All right, and now we're down to the pickup of, I guess, the month, because I don't really know if I'm going to get anything better than this. But I did have a fake version of this game because I could not find one at a reasonable price. But lo and behold, I was surfing through and I found one which is pretty much, 40%, if not more, probably around 50% of what it's normally going for now. And that is Cannon Spike on the Dreamcast. Now, I completed my Dreamcast collection a while ago because Dreamcast was one of the first systems I collected for, just because it was probably my most played system in high school. But I never had a real copy of Cannon Spike. I'd always had burned copies of Cannon Spike. Actually found a real copy of Cannon Spike. Not the best condition. As you can see, there's a little bit of fading on the manual on the side there. And then even when I open it up, which I'm going to open it up here. Oh no, just broke the case. Look at that. Things happen. Good thing I have an extra case. But if you look at this here, the disc is just not in horrible shape, right? The top of the disc, there are some scratches on the back of this disc, but to find a copy of Cannon Spike, yeah, look at that disc. It's pretty scratched up. It does play, it does work. I did play it. Disc is great, though. I just needs a quick buff. And then, yes, I did just break. I did just break the case, but I wasn't going to keep it in this case. I was actually going to swap the case out regardless. But just want to give you a look at the manual here. I mean, if you look at it, some damage on the manual, right? Not perfect, but it is a real copy of Cannon Spike. So glad to have that. Cannon Spike is a pretty fun one. I did play it some. Very short game, very fun game, but glad to have it in the collection. And that does it. Didn't want to be too long with this pickups video, but did want to share that story about GameStop. Be careful out there. They're not checking their cartridge-based games. So if you are going to buy a cartridge-based game from GameStop, definitely make sure you have one of those screwdrivers so you can open it up, check it out, and make sure that you're not getting NBA Live 97. Alrighty, well that does it for me here. I am the Y2K Collector. Be on the lookout for the third installment of my Sega Nostalgia series. Going to be talking about 3 more Sega Genesis games that really impacted me growing up. Hope you're having a great weekend though, and thanks for stopping by. I am the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.